Right, okay, everyone. Time now to start doing our issue 60 for the Stormbringer. Now, this has the first part of the Ale Guzzler Gargant in. It's a beautiful big sprue here. Now, the Ale Guzzler Gargant is so cool. I mean, it is just amazing. I remember seeing this for the first time. I can't. It's got to be. I mean, it's got to have been made after. Yeah, it was 2005, wasn't it? I think this came out. It might have been earlier than that, actually. I can't. It says 2005 on the sprue. It'll be interesting to see if it's older than that. Anyway, what I absolutely love about this thing is that at the time that it came out, it was one of the biggest models you could get. And more than just being a big model, it was so many options as well. There were so many multiple parts, multiple choices that you could make on it. There's all these kind of little things that aren't necessary, or required to actually really make the gargant. Like all of these arrows here, they're literally just there for you to decorate it. And that's just on this one sprue. Now, have a look at this. And I was genuinely thinking to myself when this was on its way, what's the base going to be? Because it's an oval for the Age of Sigmar, but can we see this here? That is a Warhammer Fantasy Battle base. The reason it's on the sprue is because that was always originally part of the Gargant. When it was just a giant back then. It wasn't an Ale Guzzler Gargant. It was just a giant back then. This is the base that they made for it. To put it simply, I recall in the White Dwarf for when this model first came out that they made this base using 3D software. It was a big deal at the time. That I believe it was the first time that they'd used it, and they were basically seeing what they could do. So the actual Gargant itself wasn't made using 3D software, and I remember that what they actually had to do is when they basically would have to sculpt these things. I think they used to say it had to be like 5 times the size when they actually do the original sculpt so that they can see how it looks and get the sizing right. The mold that they created, they actually had to then create the mold using a bin. So basically they put the model inside and then basically filled the bin up. So you can imagine how big the test model was for this thing. And I always remember that. It sticks in my head. So this was hand sculpted originally all those years ago. So it was an amazing process that they had to go through. But this here, the reason it's on the sprue is because it was always part of the model itself properly. And I always recall this being a big deal because I remember White Dwarf, I'm pretty certain they said that this was the first test run of 3D sculpting. Probably using something like Maya. Anyway, so not normally I go into the issue first, but I just wanted to sort of get right onto this and have a good look at it and see if it was as amazing as I remembered. And I love it. It's still amazing. You can see it can, if you look at the toes, it's got like a 3-toed version, so you can basically make it chaos if you want to. Anyway, the next issue is all about the little bits and bobs, which I'll go into when the time comes. As for the issue itself, we have a Gargant on the front. And what have we got here? So we're talking about the Caradron Skyfleet. So a little bit more lore about the Caradrons. again, it feels like that page should have been in the other issue because that had Caradron models, but never mind. That's what we've got. And I do love a bit of lore and a bit of extra details. I like that quote. Cruel necessity descends upon the foe. Their credit has run out. It's a very Caradron saying that, isn't it? What else have we got here? Yeah, so nice little bit, and then here it's classed as a part of the Gloomspite Gits, a nail guzzler Gargan. But even then, I feel that the Gargants themselves are a faction unto their own. I'd love to have a good look at some of the extra bits you get with it so we can really explore all of its options that you can do. So it's got a nice little bit of information. It only seems to have one specific bit of lore, and the rest is about the Gargant itself. Let's see what else we've got here. Now, okay, so because we haven't got, let's have a look. So there's a little bit of a technique on building things about push fits and sub assemblies, and then a how to build the first part of the Gargant. In fact, let's see how far it goes here. It does seem to show you in this issue, a wide range of approaches to putting it together. I can remember that what I did with my Gargant years and years ago is I actually made it for my undead army. I actually made it a zombie Gargant. I even tried my best to sculpt a cut open belly with intestines falling out. I used it as a kind of dog of war for my Vampire Counts army at the time. And the good thing is this assembly is showing you all the different options that you can potentially have. There's options. There's not just options for weapons and things. There's different arms, feet, heads, little gubbins, different weapons that you can arm him with, depending on whether or not you want to make it more chaotic in nature. And there were so many amazing little parts, and you can see that big long list there popping up. I keep forgetting the fact that they named that guy Johan's Thread. The running peasant. Again, it's just things. There's a lot of stuff on this model that isn't used in a functional way. So it's not like, hey, there's his weapon. A huge amount of stuff is for adding additional aesthetics to it and just making it unique in your own. I always remember how cool this model was because it had so much customization. If you played around and did stuff, the chance of you coming across someone with exactly the same Gargant as you is quite low because you've got so many choices. And so many people like to add conversions to them as well. So, just have a good look at that because it's really very useful. Okay, painting is talking about glazing that you can do. Yeah, now, that the glazing with skin, I think something like this Gargant will allow you to really experiment with skin tone and depth because it's got lots of wide skin areas, but then it's got folds in the skin like fat folds and muscle folds. So it's definitely a challenge to paint, but it gives you the ability to practice different approaches. And it's talking about how you glaze with shades and contrast. So it's got a nice bit of information about how to practice techniques on skin tones. Then we've got our Forged in War battle plan. Again, that kind of pick your heroes, pick your troops. And there we go. So that's our issue number 60. It's got a lot of useful things in it. So aside from how to build the full Gargant, it's also got lots of really good extras. So all of those amazing extras to do, you know, different painting techniques and all sorts. Definitely going to be a lot of fun to put them into action. Right then, there we go. That is our issue number 60, and I'm going to move on now to issue number 61.